Welcome to Third Eye Roll, where ancient wisdom gets decoded, demystified, and occasionally roasted. I'm Dr. Justine Lemos with Scarlet Trillia, here to serve up Vedic insights, spiritual real talk, and a healthy dose of side-eye. Each episode, we're diving into Vedic astrology, Ayurveda, Tantra, and the weird beauty of being human, with segments like cosmic, current events, story time with the Vedas and Shastras, WTF is that? And a mystic mic drop to leave you lit. No gurus, no fluff, just the good stuff. Welcome back to Third Eye Roll with Dr. Justine Lemos. That's me. Apparently, I talk about myself in third person now. And Scarlet Trillia. How are you today, Scarlet?
Scarlet is great today in the third person.
Dr. Lemos is so glad. So today we're talking about, I don't know, it feels kind of appropriate for what we're talking about. Today we're talking about the full moon coming up, which if we actually look at the sky, and maybe I will, maybe I won't do my rant about Western astrology, which is not accurate to what is actually in the sky. That's cool. If you like an astrology that doesn't line up to what is actually happening in the cosmos, feel free to follow Western astrology. That said, we follow a form of astrology, Vedic astrology, Jyotish, that is actually accurate to what is in the sky. And the full moon coming up is going to be in Scorpio, not in Sagittarius. It's happening on Tuesday into Wednesday. And we have a full moon happening in Scorpio, in a specific part of Scorpio called Jyeṣṭhā Nakshatra, or the star of the eldest sister, the eldest star, which is of, particular importance to both Scarlet and Dr. Lemos.
It's true. Both of these people have a relationship with this nakshatra. Can we keep up the third person? Can Scarlet and Justine keep up the third person for
Dr.
the entire podcast?
We can. Dr. Lemos is hoping that we can. I'm not sure why, but it's just what we're doing today. It's how we're feeling.
Scarlet will do her best to participate in this unplanned theme. Yes. Okay. Shall one of the two people on this podcast, probably the one speaking now, give some facts about this full moon?
Let's talk about this full moon, and okay. I'll chime in also. Full moon in Scorpio, so the key word is I devote, and we're in the realm of water behaving like fire.
And we talked last week. So this is really nice because there's a lot of circle backs, and we're starting to get to a point where we have enough podcasts that we can start to circle back on things and tie things together, which is the whole idea, right? So last episode, we were talking about karmic knot ends and gandantas and how water meets fire, or actually water meets fire, all of those things. Jyeṣṭhā is in the Gandanta zone. It's the last nakshatra of Scorpio, and it's the end of, we haven't talked about this yet, it's the end of the tamasic cycle in the zodiac that we're referring to. And it is where this full moon is taking place. So the full moon will be, I don't know which pada it's in. If it's not exactly full in the Gandanta zone, it will shortly thereafter be crossing the Gandanta within minutes or hours of this event occurring. So something we talked about last week is now really kind of coming to a head. Another interesting fact about this particular full moon is that it is occurring in Scorpio, which is a sign ruled over by Mars. And Mars just crossed Gandanta and is now in Leo, out of its debilitation zone, where it was for a long time, just through Gandanta, maybe still in Gandanta, actually for sure. It's still in Gandanta on the Leo side. And Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, so is in some form ruling over this full moon. So those are some facts. Jyeṣṭhā, the nakshatra.
If you don't know what we're talking about when we talk about Gandanta, go ahead and go back and listen to our last episode that comes right before this one.
Mm-hmm. that you shall. So, yeah, so Jyeṣṭhā is ruled by Mercury inside of Mars's house. Just a fact. Mercury is exactly conjunct in Gemini, so Mercury is at home in own sign, and exactly conjunct with Jupiter. So just facts about that. And there was one other just kind of contextual thing I thought I would bring up that we may or may not discuss. Oh, and the moon itself is debilitated in Scorpio. So it's not right. It's not at its exact degree of debilitation in Anuradha, but the moon, the mind gets dark in Scorpio house. The mind gets dark. But when the moon is full, the mind is illuminated. So it's like fully, how could you be fully illuminated and fully in the dark at the same time? What is the right metaphor for this one? It's like a big darkness.
That's right. It's like the band Megadeth. It's not just death.
It's mega death.
Like, how can you have a bigger death than death?
Only a metal
Megadeth.
Only a metal band could be mega death, right?
Right. It's right. My child listens to a band and they have a song titled Everything Evil. It's not just, it's everything that is evil. And also, Jyeṣṭhā, every star sign is a particular star or cluster of stars. And Jyeṣṭhā is Antares, which is the brightest star in Scorpio. So again, we have this light dark thing happening, and it is actually a red supergiant. And it's a very huge star. It's one of the biggest stars that is visible to the naked eye. And so it is right there. It's a single star when it's viewed by the naked eye, but it's actually a binary star system. It has two components that are Scorpii A and Scorpii B, and the brighter of the pair is this huge red supergiant. But the two of them together get the name Antares, which actually is the rival to Aries. So it has this red hue and it has this Marsian Aries energy to it. Jyeṣṭhā also, right? It's really interesting to look at the actual stars of where these nakshatras are. And Jyeṣṭhā, we're going to talk about who she is and what this alignment is. In many ways, she is the opposite of Rohini, which is another star sign placed in Taurus across the sky.
180 degrees. Like
what?
Literally 180 degrees across the sky. So opposite. Physically opposite and also opposite of in character.
Which is not where the moon reaches its exaltation, but it's right next to where the moon reaches its exaltation, just like Jyeṣṭhā is right near to where the moon reaches its point of dehabilitation. So there's this interesting thing happening. And whereas Rohini is the red goddess, she is the one who is fertile and lovely and full of flowers and, is in the same kind of archetypal group, if we like to say this, as Lakshmi, as the goddess of abundance and fertility. And Jyeṣṭhā is one of the names of the older sister of Lakshmi, who is Alakshmi, she who is inauspicious and she who is poverty.
The exact opposite again. And we discussed the creation myth, the churning of the buttermilk ocean in an earlier podcast. And it is from that churning and from that creation that both of these goddesses emerged. Also in a past podcast, and we're not shamelessly plugging our past podcast, but it's just the whole point of this. Well, we are in the sense that Scarlett and Justine are shamelessly plugging their own podcast. But the point, we can't quite. It would be too much to keep up the third person, but we'll just harp on it a little bit. But the whole point is that this is it's like a river of knowledge and learning and practice, right? And so we're just kind of in it. And if you've been listening along with us, you've been in it, and we're kind of showing you where some of these patterns are. So we talked about this creation myth. And another thing that we talked about, we started to introduce this concept of these 27 nakshatras. We've mentioned before that the moon visits one of them each day for this 27 to 28 day cycle. It repeats on the 28th day. And that's the lunar cycle that we're experiencing, waxing and waning in the sky, and, whatever, however you want to think about that. And the reason why I'm circling back to it is
one
because...
second, I'm just going to interrupt you because the waxing and waning will be a different calculation. The nakshatras are the placement in the sky. So you could have a new moon in Jyeṣṭhā, you could have a half moon in Jyeṣṭhā.
Of course. Yeah.
Jyeṣṭhā. I just wanted to clarify that for our
lovely
listeners.
It's, 14-ish days each of waxing and waning make up the full 28-day cycle. Is that what I meant to say?
Yeah.
Is that what Scarlett was trying to explain?
That's what Scarlett was trying to
say. But what I also wanted to go back to is, again, in myth, and this is confusing because the moon has feminine qualities, but is often a masculine character in mythical storytelling, such as that we are doing. And in the case of Rohini and Jyeṣṭhā, of Lakshmi and Alakshmi, what's going on, and the reason why the moon visits one nakshatra each day of its cycle, is that the moon is this great playboy, a masculine playboy, and the nakshatras are his 27 wives. And Rohini is the favorite wife, the youngest, the most beautiful, the most fertile.
We're never told in myth that I know of that he doesn't like Jyeṣṭhā, but I assume that he doesn't. I mean, the descriptions of Jyeṣṭhā are not lovely at all. She has a pot belly and like a big lower lip, and like she's not hot.
She's like a widow witch. And the reason why she's probably the least favorite sister, other than the fact that she's she's the oldest and the most infertile. I mean, come on, poor Jyeṣṭhā, right?
Yeah.
But also, she is the eldest sister, and we're going to get into this as an archetypal topic now. She's the eldest sister, and what happened is that the moon was favoring Rohini so much that the other 26 sisters were neglected. And they went to Jyeṣṭhā, the eldest, and said, as the oldest sister, it is your responsibility to set him straight. And he has to treat us equally, so he's going to visit each one of us each night per cycle. And that's how we get the moon cycle, mythologically speaking. And so Jyeṣṭhā kind of had to step in and do this difficult work, which is very much an archetype of older sister energy. And both of us are firstborn daughters to our families, right? And of course, we fall into this Jyeṣṭhā category. We don't need to discuss our own charts too much, but it's an archetype I think about a lot. And I've seen a lot of social media posts about oldest sisters. It's almost like it's part of our popular culture right now. I mean, not that it hasn't always been, but I see a lot of social discourse specifically on the eldest sister experience and themes of like hyper independence, shouldering too much. And I mean, imagine having to confront a man with 27 wives and say you have to treat them all equally.
Buddy, you come on. Time with all of my sisters.
Including with me, and you don't even like me. And I'm not.
Gotta stop just being with Rohini. I mean, we know she's the prettiest and the most lovely and the most fertile, but you got to visit them all. And there's a lot that we can talk about in terms of that myth. Maybe when there's a placement in Rohini, we'll go deep into that myth. But the symbols of Jyeṣṭhā are an earring or an umbrella. Protection, power, maybe hiding something. Also, occult talismans. This is a very witchy energy, for lack of a better term. There's a lot of psychic power here. There's a lot of fierce protection. There's a lot of devotion to the Dharma. And, but then there's also these themes of like burnout from always being the responsible one. And also, issues of superiority from being the eldest. And also themes of envy can come through with Jyeṣṭhā Nakshatra.
And also isolation and being misunderstood. And do we want to get into popular culture? Or is there anything more foundational that Justine and Scarlett would like to share?
We can talk pop culture. I think that's fun. And then we'll see what comes in as we talk about it. I'll just talk about her Shakti because every nakshatra has a power or a Shakti. It's a Rohana Shakti, which is the power to rise, to conquer, and to gain courage. This is very powerful energy. It's really about unspoken power. And this is like the gifted child that grows up too fast, or the older sibling placed into the parental role, or the spiritual protector that secretly feels very alone. There is a lot of success through hardship here. And there is also like shame transmuted in this nakshatra. And when we get to the myth and the myth of Indra, this becomes clearer. Every nakshatra has a deity ruler in addition to a planetary ruler. Layers and layers of symbolism, cultural meaning, and mythos. Jyeṣṭhā is ruled over by Indra, who is the king of the gods, who is, this powerful storm deity, and he is also a destroyer of demons, but he can also be a very insecure older sibling as the king of the gods.
Insecure older sibling. Mm-hmm. And Jyeṣṭhā does have a sense of insecurity, even as she or it also has a sense of detachment, which is a kind of an interesting combination. A good example of that, kind of a lived experience of that, which I see in a lot of people with that placement in their chart, is Jyeṣṭhā will often appear to be like impeccably dressed, always put together at the level of like her outfits. Yes. Not that it has to be a female person, but Jyeṣṭhā's energy is like dressed really well, but it actually comes from a place almost of like insecurity, like I've got to get this right, and then like overdoes it. Mm-hmm. It's like a overachieving through insecurity type of energy. So when the moon, and we're talking about all of these themes because when the moon is full in a certain nakshatra, these themes become relevant to the collective. And not just on the day of the full moon, but for the fortnight of that full moon. So 2 weeks, in and around that time. And what that could feel like is, well, all of the things that we just talked about, but it could feel like like accomplishment, but not necessarily a confident one. It's like I did it and I did it well, but I did it well because I prepared really hard for that, because I had to get it right, because I'm the role model to 26 other wives, sister wives mm-hmm. of the moon or whatever it is. And what's funny is, so my neighbors have 12 daughters, as you do. And as one does, and the eldest is 20 and the youngest is 2. So eldest daughter in a family of 12 daughters, and they're literally next door, I see them all the time, has the responsibility of a parent in so many ways, and likely has had that responsibility since she was old enough to push a baby carriage, basically, It's just funny that, and we were just chatting. That's why it's kind of funny that came up. But leading into this podcast, I did a little Google search about iconic older sister. And just to be super clear, you can identify as a man or as male and still have the experience of eldest sibling, older sister themes. It doesn't have to be it's not about gender. It's just the terms that we're using to discuss it. So I was looking up like iconic oldest sisters in movies. We should just note
that like the eldest sister has very different duties and responsibilities than an elder brother.
That's true. Absolutely.
So it is specifically this eldest sister energy.
But a man could end up in a feminine role that is like that. But
interestingly, the Yoni Nakshatra is the male deer. So there's a whole other layer. Yeah, it's male deer is Jyeṣṭhā, the stag.
Another thing, and I did light incense before recording this podcast, is Jyeṣṭhā has a very smoky energy. It's like a witch who can like disappear in a puff of smoke. That's very Jyeṣṭhā-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
So
just
tell
watched.
us some
Yeah.
famous elder
Oh,
sisters.
okay. So Kat from 10 Things I Hate About You. I haven't seen that in a long time. That was one of the ones that popped up. Kind of there's like a lot of classic literature like Little Women, Pride and Prejudice, um, Sense and Sensibility, and obviously these are groups of sisters. So there's always an eldest, and she bears, in all of these cases, kind of bears some of the emotional burden of like family drama or relationship drama, and is often like, it's not that she doesn't have a voice, but is often like, and Scorpio is incredibly secretive as a Rashi, right? So
Yes.
it's often like a lot of unspoken duress, or
Mm-hmm.
knows more than she lets on, and holds space for something to emerge, those kinds of things. So all of those classic novels have like kind of popped up as like older sister ones. Katniss from the Hunger Games was on that list. I think the best one though is and I, you know what? I can't believe I'm going to say this. I've never seen um oh, another really good one was A League of Their Own. So I don't know if anyone,
Mm-hmm.
that's such a great movie, but
Mm-hmm.
it's an older and younger sister, and it's the younger sister who wants to play, and she
Right.
kind of gets her older sister involved, and the older sister is like the tougher, more talented energy, but she's really
Yep.
kind of doing it for the younger one. But
Yeah,
the
yeah,
one
yeah,
that
yeah.
popped up that I've never seen is Hocus Pocus. It's like
Yeah.
the three
I've
witch
never seen it either.
sisters,
We should watch it.
right? We should probably watch it. But there's an
Totally watch
eldest,
it.
yeah, Winifred from Hocus Pocus is pretty much like a perfect example of this, because it's like the eldest kind of witch sister, and she yeah.
I did just a little search on famous celebrities with placements in Jyeṣṭhā, and I don't know. I'd need to look at all the charts. I'm not sure if it's lunar placement or ascendant placement or sun placement, but it's prominent placements in Jyeṣṭhā, and so you'll
Hmm.
start to kind of feel into the energy of this. Nicole Kidman is yeah, you can tell she's Jyeṣṭhā. Those of us who we know each other. Michelle Obama.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Right. Marilyn Monroe
Hmm.
has Jyeṣṭhā placements. I know she also has Rohini placements. I haven't looked at her chart in some times. Britney Spears, big old Jyeṣṭhā placement. Kim
Hmm.
Kardashian, also,
Of course,
Jyeṣṭhā
right?
placement. And so you can, Muhammad Ali, and also JFK had Jyeṣṭhā placements. And Jyeṣṭhā, with all that secrecy, all the romantic endeavors outside the bounds of normative social relationships, have their place with Jyeṣṭhā Nakshatra. This is where you get dark, shadowy, under the surface stuff going on, because that's this part of the zodiac. And Jyotish recognizes all aspects of the human experience. It's not just the light and fluffy.
No. And just to be clear, nothing in this entire tradition that we're discussing on this podcast is dedicated to the total human experience. And there's been a misconception in the West that yoga is about feeling good and love and light. And we don't necessarily agree with that. We do a lot of lovely light things in practice, but it's actually about reconciliation of lightness and darkness. It's the yin yang. It's not one or the other. Um, I was gonna see if I'm kind of checking what music has been
Well,
like
I've got a
top.
music pick. I've got one
Oh,
music
okay.
pick. There's a Billie Eilish song, which Billie carries a lot of this Scorpio Jyeṣṭhā energy. I haven't looked at her chart. I'd like to, but she has a song that was on one of her first albums. I think the second album, that's Bury a Friend. And it's about like inner demons and unwanted attention and breaking free of others' projections. And it's really dark, and it's down there in Jyeṣṭhā, because this is the darkest. The star signs move through a cycle of Rajasic, that which is transformative, red, growing, Tamasic, that which is dark and stuck and deep in the hole, and then Sattvic, which is light and transcendent. And this is the last, the final, the darkest pit of the tamasic signs. So bury it down in there and bury a friend.
Sounds about right. I watched Sinners last night, and I would say that that movie
I've
carries a
seen
lot
it.
of the
I saw it.
energy.
I saw
Yep,
it. And then it
yep.
inspired me to write a whole paper about something that is going to be submitted for peer review. So that's great news.
Very cool. That's a
I'll tell
very,
you all about
yeah,
it.
I can't wait to hear Justine talk
It's
all about
actually
it.
kind of
Um,
it's kind of relevant to this podcast, but I won't bring us out of what we're talking about that much. Fashion. Want to talk fashion?
well, in case other people have not seen Sinners, it's awesome. You should watch it. Um, I think that like witchy, vampire-ish fashion would be appropriate.
I was
Um,
going to say witch hats.
Which hats
Yeah,
would
witch
come into
hats.
play. Um, but again, it could be like, you know what is a very Jyeṣṭhā kind of example is like the classic black on black New Yorker kind of maybe wafy, probably impeccable, um, in the sense that it's like curated black on black. It's not like a coincidental. Um, and that's done because it's like reduces the possibility of error in a way because Jesta actually doesn't want to appear to be out of place. So that energy might choose something that's like a classic, doesn't go out of style, tailored,
But she's going to have a protective
innocuous.
talisman. She's going to wear
Yeah,
like some sort of protective talisman. She might wear
earrings.
heavy eyeliner. She might like have some occult ring or like a tattoo placed somewhere that nobody can see it.
Yep. This person will wear earrings every day. And even men with these placements will probably have pierced ears and maybe even like prominent earrings as well. And yeah, and when we say talisman, like if you're not coming from a, a tradition that uses a lot of talismans, like the classic blue circle evil eye with like the blue
Yeah.
and then like the white circle inside, that would be a very like Jesta type of thing.
Yeah.
And it could be a pendant too. There's actually a specific earring that's worn in India, like a Desi jewelry item that is related to Jesta. It's the what do they call it? The
Jhumka.
Jiminy, Jhumkas?
Jhumka.
And it's an earring that looks like an umbrella,
Yes.
if that makes sense, which is her other
It's an
symbol.
upside down umbrella earring.
Mhm.
I guess it's not upside down
No,
umbrella. It
it's
like
right
hangs
side up.
down.
Yeah, it hangs down.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of
Um,
the other?
Uh, movie. I don't have a movie. I just have a scene from a movie. I floated this by you, and I don't know if you really thought it hit it, but to me, it really does. It's Cersei's shame walk in Game of Thrones.
Totally. I mean,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm glad you're on board
yeah.
with this. You know,
That's a
she's like
very it's like
naked and her hair is shorn and she's got this bell of karma toiling behind her because Jesta can have to do with like deep shame and exposure and then reclaiming our dignity. Like she walks that walk of shame and like she does it.
Jesta also, and there's always animal associations. Jesta is associated with like crows and ravens.
Yes.
And another one of her symbols, which is less discussed, but actually really important, is a winnowing basket, which
Yes.
is like a woven, almost like it's like a filter for winnowing like wheat from chaff, right? So you put grain in that or whatever it is, and you shake it out and you separate the wheat from the chaff. You separate what is good and useful and like something you would want to take forward into the sattvic cycle of enlightenment or what you would want to leave behind in the tamasic cycle. I mean, she's literally the transition. She is the Gandanta. She's the last. She's the middle Gandanta, the most difficult Gandanta.
Yes.
Um, and it's literally like she has the ability. She'll like write up on her crow like a witch, and then put in her winning basket and separate out what's going to be left behind and what's going to be left behind in the fire, or like taken forward into the light.
Yes.
Really
And
interesting.
and so that's the key question for this full moon is like, what am I taking with me? and what am I leaving behind?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting one. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to hear the myth of Indra and all the vaginas?
Oh, the myth of Indra and all of vagina. Dr. Justine Limos is going to tell a myth about vaginas. Let's sit back and listen.
So, once upon a time, long, long ago, far, far away, and simultaneously right here and right now inside of each of us, Indra, who is the king of the gods, had this problem. And it wasn't one of the asuras, who are demons who are often threatening the heavens, but the problem was his pride. And he had this very particular God-flavored insecurity that makes someone very powerful, but then also they're very paranoid. And there was this mighty asura, this mighty demon, whose name was Vritta. Vritta. We know it, Chitta Vrittis, like from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Yogash Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is, Patanjali, in his very famous Yoga Sutras, 2nd century, he gives us one shlokam, one poetic verse about what is yoga. He says, Yogash Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the whirlpools of the mind. And vritti can mean whirlpools. It can mean obstruction. It can mean the way that we get in the way of our own self. And so vritta was like this snake-like.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's also like a vortex.
A vortex. It actually comes into English as the word
Vortex. Mm-hmm.
Or the word weird comes from the same word root, because it turns things around. And Jyeṣṭhā is probably the weirdest of the nakshatras.
I mean, obviously, evidently.
And so Vritta was this snake-like force coiled around the celestial waters, who was hoarding all the soma, all the divine nectar, and he was blocking all the rains. And Indra was tasked with restoring the cosmic order, and so he went to war. But the problem was that Vritta was a Brahmin, and you can't kill Brahmins, like in Vedic order. That's a violation of sacred law. Or maybe he had a boon that made him protected by Brahmanic force. But Indra was just completely desperate. The heavens were drying up and everybody's restless. So he took his Vajra, his thunderbolt, which he also had fashioned from the bones of a sage. And so he took his bone thunderbolt and he slayed Vritta, and therefore released the waters of life. And so the problem was that as soon as he killed Vritta, he was overwhelmed with guilt, like deep karmic guilt and rot. And he felt that he had this sin of killing a Brahmin. And so he spiraled out and he ran away and he hid, all Scorpio themes. And at that point, because he had killed a Brahmin, his body erupted with 1,000 yonis, vaginas, that covered over his skin like open wounds everywhere. And what?
I'm sorry. It's like, it's not funny, but imagine coming up with these stories and just completely deadpan setting the course of thousands of years of oral tradition with these themes. It's just so awesome. Like,
right?
congratulations.
Well, and also, like, I wonder here, like, I've thought about this myth a lot, because in this case, like, the yoni is this, like, symbol of vulnerability and shame. And so I wonder what if there's a non-patriarchal telling of this myth or retelling of this myth. But if we think about it in that sense, like Indra, who's the most hyper-masculine, conquering god, suddenly he is like penetrable and he's exposed and he's receptive. And so now he is, undone. And he has all these vaginas all over him. And so he goes into the wilderness. He gives up his throne, very Jyeṣṭhā theme, and all the gods panic because there's no king in heaven, and there's chaos everywhere. And eventually, with help from the originator, the divine physician of Ayurveda, Dhanvantari, And after he performs all this purification and tapas, his curse is transformed and the 1,000 vaginas become 1,000 eyes. So now he sees everything and he becomes the elder and he gets this sacred vision. So that's the story of Indra and the vaginas.
I love it. This is very Jyeṣṭhā.
And he's the deity ruler over Jyeṣṭhā Nakshatra.
Jyeṣṭhā's energy, interestingly, is very frigid. And that doesn't mean that the person with the Jyeṣṭhā placement is frigid. I mean, they might be. But it doesn't necessarily force that. It just means that, like, reproduction is not, like, the primary function of that placement. It's about wisdom after widowhood. It's a really... Yeah, and so it's interesting that like the yoni theme is there.
It's really interesting, and the yoni and the eyes, and these yoni eyes that almost become a talisman all over him, and the transformation of the yoni into the eyes, and also because this is, Dhumavati energy, the smoky one of the Dasha Mahavidya system, and it's right next to the star sign whose deity ruler is the oldest form of Kali. So there's some interesting things that are happening here that I'm not sure we know what all of them are, and that's okay.
I was thinking about Kali, and just to be clear, again, we are approaching these topics in a very non-traditional, non-linear way, just in case you haven't heard us say that in past episodes. So traditionally, when we compare like one of the Mahavidyas, like Dhumavati, to Jyeṣṭhā, to Alakshmi, like we're quantum leaping between time periods, between texts, between traditions, and tying together themes, which
precedent for that. There is precedent.
There's precedent. There's academic precedent for that, more so than there is traditional. Like, you wouldn't necessarily find a text that puts that just says that makes that claim. But if you studied, there are
that call Alakshmi Jyeṣṭhā. Those for sure.
That's true.
Not but Dhumavati herself. Yeah. But I mean, Dhumavati.
But there's precedent for. I mean, it's obvious.
There's a lot of
I mean, it's
symbolic synergy, right?
Sorry, Dr. Justine Limos's audio got garbled for a moment there.
I was saying there's a lot of symbolic synergy between Dhumavati and Jyeṣṭhā.
Absolutely. And I'm only making that disclaimer because we might get some stares if we were speaking this way in a traditional context. However, we have, as we've mentioned, many decades of academic backup for why we're putting these things together. And I think what really the takeaway point of saying that is that this is once again a really important archetype. And it's an archetype that we can find in books and movies and music throughout cultures and throughout history. And it's basically the archetype of the witch, right? And witches often the eldest sister witch, and that often is given a negative connotation, even though it's actually an incredibly benevolent role to play because it's highly protective and self-sacrificing, such as in this, the intervention of the moon on behalf of the other sisters. Jyeṣṭhā doesn't really benefit from that. It's simply a role and an assignment that she must take on because of her birth order, and so she does it. I feel like there is a really... Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I think the main question for this full moon, or a question, is thinking about who protects the protector, and then who watches the one with all of the eyes. So who watches the watcher? And, how are we hiding behind masks of incompetence or competence? How are we hiding behind this is the imposter syndrome issue, right? And the so-called witch wound, the so-called imposter syndrome wound, right? And this is also a place where ancestral karmas are healed. And so offering water to ancestors to heal generational shame, this shame issues, is very potent at this full moon.
I was just having a chat with a friend who's Portuguese, and in English, and as it turns out, I was trying to figure it out because in Spanish, we don't have a distinction between shame and shyness, but we really separate those things in English. And I was like wondering what they do in Portuguese. They do separate those concepts.
Interesting.
But I always bring this up because, we love to talk about linguistics, but I cannot stop thinking about the fact that there's an entire culture based on language that basically is like, if you think you don't want to do something because you're too shy, it's rooted in shame.
You're somehow ashamed.
And it's basically imposter syndrome. Like that's and it's such a different way of thinking about those concepts, and I really like it. And language shapes culture, obviously, but yeah,
we should say that Jyeṣṭhā people do like to get on the mic and talk a lot. So here we are.
And here we are teaching with authority, and yet feeling a need to justify the claims that we're making, even though we have like myriad qualifications to do this. It's like kind of a self-deprecating thing, but it's built into the chart.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like we've done Jyeṣṭhā some justice, and
Jyeṣṭhā some justice. There's going to be a follow-up. I'll have to come back with this. There's more music for this one, and I can't quite think what it is.
I can't either.
We need like a theme song. It could be the Scorpions. It could be, there's a song called Ascendant Scorpio.
Right.
That's a good one.
But
Scorpio's letter.
I feel like those are Scorpio generally, and not Jyeṣṭhā.
Not Jyeṣṭhā. Yeah. Right? Jyeṣṭhā herself.
There's another Billie Eilish song that You Could See Me in a Crown, and that's a bit of a Jyeṣṭhā energy because Jyeṣṭhā is a queen. She's a witch, dark queen energy, So that's a possibility. But we'll follow up on our music selection.
Okay, I think that's good. Or just listen to the blues. Like, listen to the soundtrack to Sinners.
Yeah, exactly. Blues. Absolutely. That's
absolutely the blues. The smoky blues. Like, smokestack blues.
Because it's the Gandanta, so it's where you meet the devil at the crossroads, and he teaches you to play the blues.
It's the blues. This is like Robert Johnson energy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, all right.
We've done
it.
On
that note. We've done
it. We did our fashion.
We did our fashion. Yeah. Black on black.
Good work.
Yeah.
I'll see you next
week. All right.
Om Namah Shivaya.
See you later. Om Namah Shivaya.
I feel like we did pretty good.